Myoho Renge Kyo Nam. Myoho Renge Kyo Nam. Myoho Renge Kyo. All right. Sorry about that distraction. Okay, so let's continue on. As Nichiren is talking to his interlocutor here about the few versus the many and popularity contests and that sort of thing. In addition, names have the virtue of being able to summon the things to which they refer, and things as a matter of function respond to the name that refers to them. In similar fashion, the name or daimoku of the Lotus Sutra has the power to summon the Buddha nature to which it refers. So you've probably heard me say this. I've certainly said it a lot on Quora and other forums where people have asked about either how chanting works, which is also on my website as a document you can read. But this is just, I'm taking it right out of Nichiren's words here. The way I explain it is that daimoku, or chanting, is an invocation of that very nature, of our Buddha nature, our Buddha mind, as we enunciate it. This is the power of chanting to Gohonzon. It's not that we worship a Gohonzon or a piece of paper or any of that, as Nichiren also says, never seek this Gohonzon outside yourself. But as human beings who need to be consciously taken by something in order to experience something, this is the human condition. I've often used the example of love. Try to just sit quietly in a room and wail up this sensation of, and if you haven't felt it in your life yet, perhaps not, but most of us at some point in our life will feel this transcendent, body-tingling release of abandon of love. And it usually because we're focused on another person, sometimes another thing or a goal, but typically it's another human being. And our sense of craving to want to be with that, immerse ourselves in that, actually transcends craving. It's no longer about desire, it's about wanting to be melded with. And that sensation of love isn't something you can just sit and have a peanut butter sandwich and go, I think I'll feel love now. Unless perhaps you have an unnatural attachment to peanut butter. I don't know. At any rate, daimoku, myoho renge kyo, spoken about as a law, a natural fundamental law of all phenomena, is due to this ability to transcend our human mind and use its own desires and attachments in order to transcend itself to our pre-existing inherent Buddha nature and open our Buddha mind, a mind that is unattached, that is affected because we're human, but affected with overwhelming joy, love, understanding, and uninfluenced by any extraneous inputs. Inputs from where? Ultimately, our mind. No distractions, no pulling and attachments, just a simple observation, an observatory mind of the wonder and awe of what is the process of life. So you see, Buddhahood is something experienced here and now. In fact, as we learn from Buddhist scholarship, it's already there. What's missing from our experience is revealing it. And the only reason we have to reveal it is because it's obfuscated by veils of illusions, veils of attachments and preoccupations and politics and propaganda of our own mind, let alone the many, many influences. So if we want a true influence, we don't want the many. We want that individual focused thing. And so Nichiren created the Gohanzen not as something to be adored and worshipped, but as something to be a perfect mirror. And you'll hear mirror used by Nichiren a lot, and Tendai and other scholars. Because it allows us to take our visual consciousness, which is so powerful, right? We identify everything with it. Well, identify your Buddha nature. So it unclutters the mind from so many other thoughts and gives us a visual consciousness focus. And then our oral consciousness listens to our chant of the Daimoku. Our vibration of our body, our sense, our feeling, our consciousness of touch is satiated by the vibration of the sound we make when we chant. Our ears, our mouth, our brains even occupied in keeping the chant going correctly and repeatedly. All of this functions to shut down the monkey mind, to get rid of all that constant stream of barrage of distractions, and to allow us to focus directly on what? That which we're invoking. Myoho Renge Kyo, our own Buddha nature, our fundamental mind of observations, free of distractions and attachments. That's awakening, folks. It's not some mystical thing that you reach at the end of life or after thousands of years of practice or blah, 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 blah. It's immediate. This is why the Lotus Sutra is the supreme teaching. Not because it comes with fries and a Coke. It's because it is the ultimate teaching, what Shakyamuni Buddha was trying to teach from the very get-go. But it was just beyond the capacity of the people of his time to understand. And of later times. It wasn't until our most fortunate era now that we have the natural capacity to understand how this works. And we have the ultimate tool. Nietzsche didn't create it. He just revealed it. Why? Because it was only by the time of the latter day that a Nichiren shonen shows up to get it and go, oh, I get what he's been saying all along. Here it is. What a benefit to us. Right? So the enlightened man said, if it is as you say, then the blessings of the Daimoku are very great indeed. You think? But these blessings, another but. But these blessings must differ according to whether or not one understands the significance of the Daimoku. I am a man who carries a bow and arrows and devotes himself to the profession of arms. I have no understanding of the true nature of the Buddhist teachings. How could a person such as I gain any great amount of good fortune? Wow. Not a bad question, right? The sage replied, according to the principle of the perfect and immediate enlightenment, there is no essential difference between the earlier and latter stages of practice. Isn't that what I was just saying? And the blessings of the advanced stages are inherent in the initial stages as well. To carry out one practice is to carry out all practices, and there is no blessing that is not included therein. So this is circling around what I just said. The moment, and this is in the teachings as well. If you get the meaning, if you, as Shakyamuni said, if you take just one phrase of this one vehicle teaching and embrace it, you're guaranteed your Buddha mind, your awakening, your enlightenment. Did you think he was lying? See, we're so trained in the West and in the world that nothing comes without tremendous effort and repetition. And I'm here to tell you, yes, that produces gains in anything. But only in the one vehicle teaching in Myoho Renge Kyo can you be a star quarterback, an Olympic swimmer, a scientist, a nuclear biologist, the moment you crack the book open. Why is that? Because to be enlightenment, to be awakened, isn't an achievement. It's a revealing. It's already there. You could argue the achievement, although it was a backwards way of looking at it, is that we don't see it. If the situation were as you say, and one could not obtain good fortune until one had understood the truth of Buddhism, then no one from the bodhisattvas at the stage of near perfect enlightenment on down to those at the stage of hearing the name and words of the truth would be able to obtain any good fortune at all. This is because the Lotus Sutra, as the Lotus Sutra, says, the truth can only be understood between Buddhas. Ipso facto, we're all Buddhas. Not making this shit up, folks. In the simile and parable chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha declares, even if you, Shariputra, in the case of this sutra, were able to gain entrance through the resolute mind and conviction alone, how much more so than the other voice hearers? So if you know, see, and this is why study is essential, because things like Shariputra, understanding what it means to say this to Shariputra, is yet another set, very many stories and tales of this excellent student. Shariputra is very, very attentive, knew and memorized many, many sermons, was quite a scholar, if you will. But he was so attached to the words and the scholarship that he failed to, seek, perceive, understand the meaning. He was so preoccupied with remembering and memorization, his own human skills, that he forgot that they were for a purpose. This passage is saying that even Shariputra, who was known for his great wisdom, was, with respect to the Lotus Sutra, able to gain entrance through resolute mind and conviction and not through the power of his wisdom. How much more so, therefore, does this hold true with other voice hearers? So it doesn't matter what your station is in life. It doesn't matter that you're a great scholar or a poor scholar. It matters that you get the meaning that transcends all scholarship. I maintain that the path to meaning is through scholarship, but that's not essential. It's just a training for us, especially in the latter day, to continuously remind ourselves that the meaning is there for us to reveal. This is why it promotes study, and so does Buddha. Thus, with the preaching of the Lotus Sutra, Shariputra, because he had resolute mind and conviction, was able to rid himself of the name of one who would never attain Buddhahood, and was told that he would in time become the thus come one flower globe. It is like the case of a baby being given milk to drink. Even though the baby may not understand the flavor of milk, the milk naturally nurtures the baby's growth. Similarly, if a physician gives medicine to a sick person, even though the sick person may not know the origin and nature of the medicine, if he takes it, then presumably with some commitment and belief, then in the natural course of events, his illness will be cured. But if he objects that he does not know the origin of the medicine that the physician gives him, and for that reason declines to take it, do you think his illness will ever be cured? Whether he understands the medicine or not, so long as he takes it, he will in either case be cured. The Buddha has already been called a skilled physician, and the law has been likened to good medicine, and all living beings to people suffering from illness. Yeah. The Buddha took the teachings that he had preached in the course of his lifetime, ground and sifted them, blended them together, and compounded an excellent medicine, the pill of the a priori law. Regardless of whether one understands it or not, so long as one takes the pill, can one fail to be cured of the illness of delusions. Even though the sick person may not understand the medicine or even know the nature of the disease from which he suffers, if he takes the medicine, he is bound to recover. Myoho Renge Kyo is the medicine. It is the same way with the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra. Though they may not understand the principles of Buddhism and may not know that they are suffering from delusion, if only they had the resolute mind and conviction, then without a doubt, they will be able to free themselves simultaneously from the illness of the three categories of illusion. Illusions of thought and desire, illusions innumerable as the particles of dust and sand, and illusions about the true nature of existence. They will reach the lands of actual reward and tranquil light, and cause the three bodies of a thus come one that they inherently possess to shine. The three bodies are us. They are in our mental purview, and they will shine out as soon as we remove the delusions that keep us from seeing them. How? Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Therefore, the great teacher Dengyo says, neither teacher nor disciples needs undergo countless kalpas of austere practices in order to attain Buddhahood. And this is also why I keep telling people, you don't have to find a monastery. You don't have to do ascetic practices and shut yourself away. That's ancient thinking to try to train people that couldn't get what you're capable of getting. And here is Nichiren saying it in so many words. That sound you hear is rain. It's raining quite hard outside. So if you do hear that, it's not static, it's not snow on your TV. it's rain on the roof of the school. Through the power of the Lotus Sutra, of the wonderful law, they can do so in their present form. This means that both the teacher who expounds the principles of the Lotus Sutra and the disciple or student who receives his teachings will in no long time together become Buddhas through the power of the Lotus Sutra, Myoho Renge Kyo. The great teacher Tendai produced the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra, the words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra, and great concentration and insight, 30 volumes of commentary on the Lotus Sutra. And the great teacher Miao Lo, in addition, produced the 30 volumes of the annotations on the profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra. The annotations on the words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra and the annotations on great concentration and insight to comment on Tendai's works. Together, these works are known as the 60 volumes of the Tendai school. In profound meaning, Tendai established the 5 major principles of name, entity, quality, function, and teaching, and in their light explained the power and efficacy of the 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo. In the section on the third of the 5 major principles, that dealing with the quality of the Lotus Sutra, he writes, quote, when one pulls on the main cord of a net, there are no meshes that do not move. And when one raises a single corner of a robe, there are no threads in the robe that are not lifted up. The meaning of this passage, end quote, the meaning of this passage is that when one carries out a single practice of exercising resolute mind and conviction in Myoho Renge Kyo, there is no blessing that fails to come to one, no merit, no reward, and no good karma that does not begin to work on one's behalf. It is like the case of a fishing net. Though the net is composed of innumerable small meshes, When one pulls on the main cord of a net, there are no meshes that do not move. Or it is like a garment. Though the garment is composed of countless tiny threads, when one pulls on a corner of the garment, there are no threads that are not drawn along. In Words and Phrases, Tendai explains the various words and phrases in the Lotus Sutra from the opening words, quote, "This is what I heard," end quote, to the final words, quote, "They bowed in obedience and departed," end quote. He explains them in terms of four categories, namely cause and conditions, correlated teachings, the theoretical and essential teachings, and the observation of the mind. Next, in great concentration and insight, he expounds the meditation on the region of the unfathomable, namely, on the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. Based on his thorough understanding of the Lotus Sutra. This is a practice that derives from the Buddha's original enlightenment and represents a principle of truth inherent in one's being. I will not go into detail here. It's a lot of teaching, a lot of study. But it bears mentioning. What an occasion for rejoicing. Though born into an evil age that is stained with the 5 impurities, we have been able to see and hear the true words of the one vehicle. We read that a person who has planted roots of good fortune under Buddhas, equal in number to the sands of the Hiranyavati or the Ganges River, is able to encounter this sutra and take resolute mind and conviction in it. Now you have aroused the mind that rejoices in resolute mind and conviction. Thus, without a doubt, just as a box and its lid fit together, so will your own resolute mind and conviction evoke the Buddha's compassionate response, and the two will reunite as one. This is you uniting with your own Buddha mind, your nature. The unenlightened man bowed his head, pressed his palms together, and said, "From now on I will accept and uphold this king of sutras and the lotus of the one truth, and revere the Buddha, who in the threefold world is alone worthy of honor, as my true teacher. From my present body as a common mortal until the time when I attain the body of a Buddha, I will never venture to turn aside from this resolute mind and conviction. Though the clouds of the 5 cardinal sins should hang heavy above me, I will strive to emulate the example of Devadatta in attaining Buddhahood. Though the waves of the 10 evil acts should buffet me, I will desire to be like those who formed a bond with the Lotus Sutra by listening to the prince's preaching. The prince's preaching. The sage says the human heart is like water that assumes the shape of whatever vessel it occupies, and the nature of beings is like the reflection of the moon undulating on the waves. Now you insist that you will be firm in this resolute mind and conviction, but another day you are bound to waver. Though devils and demons may come to tempt you, you must not allow yourself to be distracted. The heavenly devils hates the Buddha law, and the non-Buddhist believers resent the path of the Buddha's teachings. But you must be like the golden mountain that glitters before brightly when scraped by the wild boar, like the sea that encompasses all the various streams, like the fire that burns higher when logs are added, or like the Kalakula insects that grow bigger when the wind blows. If you follow such example, then how can the outcome fail to be good? This is a big one, this conversation between a sage and an unenlightened man. And a tremendous amount of direction on not how to have a mindset toward practice, but how the answers are very specifically outlined in the Lotus Sutra. There can be no doubt. And that closes this Gosho. It also ends my particular assemblage of Gosho in Volume 1 of Nichiren Gosho. Please use this, and we'll move on to the next book of Gosho, next assemblage. But I felt, amongst all the Gosho, that these had the crux for a beginner to even an experienced practitioner. These are the things we need to get pounded in our head and understand the meaning of, because it's all there. Now, to be sure, there are other many great Goshos, and we're going to go into them. But for now, thank you. Thank you for participating, listening. Please make comments, ask questions under the videos. That's what the comment section is there for. You'll help my practice, as well as give me an opportunity to maybe peer into questions I hadn't even thought of. So thank you. Thank you. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Let's all be Buddhas. Let's achieve our 3 bodies of Dharma, Buddha, enlightenment. Let's do it. Thank you. See you soon.